anybody who knows the channel, I love Roadcraft. I got over 300 hours into that game. I finally sat down with SnowRunner. So yes, I do have a lot of opinions. Some surprised me, some confirmed exactly what I already knew, but this is my complete honest take. And welcome everybody. I'm F5 Dad, the 4 a.m. gaming historian. I got 45 years of gaming experience. And honestly, I just started playing SnowRunner, so I only got about 4 to 5 hours into the game. But this is going to be coming from a fresh, dedicated Roadcraft player. No hype, no nostalgia goggles. It's just going to be my honest observations from someone who loves vehicle sims. And let's get into it. So before I really start into the comparisons of the two games, I do want to be clear about one thing and where I'm basically coming from. I am not a SnowRunner veteran. I haven't put 500 hours into this game. What I am is someone who has put serious time into Roadcraft, which if you haven't seen my content, it is a newer vehicle sim focused on building roads, cutting trees, laying infrastructure, and the game did launch to a pretty good positive reception when it came out. So the real question I keep asking myself throughout this whole session was, if you love Roadcraft, do you really need SnowRunner? And if you love SnowRunner, would Roadcraft also interest you? So by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where I land on both games. The very first thing I noticed upon loading into SnowRunner, and honestly, it did make me smile, is that SnowRunner has manual gears on by default, and I actually love that. So here's the thing. I actually do play manual gears in Roadcraft, as it is available in that game also, but it's not on by default. You actually have to go into the settings and then turn it on. And when you break all that down, I just never fully understood why, because manual gear control is going to be a huge part of what makes vehicle sims truly feel authentic. So it is now time to talk graphics. And I'm going to be straight with you because I think some people in the SnowRunner community might not love this take, but hear me out. Now, before we move on, I think it's very important that I do highlight this. I am not playing either one of these games on the console. I do play on a high-end gaming rig. It does have an RTX 4090, and I can max out the graphics at 4K, and that is going to make a big difference when you look at the console. When I think about SnowRunner, I think the game looks great. I love how the mud tends to deform around the vehicle as you go through it. I think the water effects look great, the lighting. It is a very solid looking game, especially for how long it's been out. I have zero complaints when it comes to SnowRunner. Roadcraft to me is simply on another level visually, as long as the computer you're playing it on can handle it. Foliage density, the environmental detail, the way light hits the terrain, it generally looks like a next generation version of what SnowRunner established. This is simply not a knock on SnowRunner at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's more of a compliment to what the developers of Roadcraft actually achieved. So let's go ahead and talk about contracts and objectives. This is where SnowRunner did surprise me, and it is an area I think it does something slightly better than Roadcraft, and I'm not afraid to say that. I definitely think the contract system in SnowRunner is a bit cleaner, only after you do figure out tracking versus acceptance. So in SnowRunner, you can actually track a mission from the menu to simply see its objectives, but if you haven't physically visited the start point to accept the mission, the game may not actually activate the pickup markers or even the completion zone. So as an example, you're going to pick up a contract, accept it. You're going to know exactly what you're hauling, where it's going to go, and what you're going to get for it. It is simple, it is satisfying, and the clarity is pretty straightforward. Now, Roadcraft, on the other hand, and yes, it does kill me to say it, but I will, it can get confusing. You do have your main objectives, you have your side objectives, and you're going to have your infrastructure tasks like laying pipes, creating routes, building roads. All of these can be happening simultaneously, and the UI really doesn't make it obvious which thread that you should be pulling on. I am going to give the edge to SnowRunner over Roadcraft in this category. When I talk about SnowRunner, it does have a driver profile system. You're going to level up. You earn rewards. Your progression is going to feel personal. On top of that, you're going to be able to upgrade all your vehicles, tires, suspension, engines, gearboxes, winches. You're constantly going to improve your fleet and make choices about what you're going to put on each vehicle. And then you have the exploration element where you're going to find hidden vehicles scattered across the map. I still recall my very first vehicle was it was off the road in a field, completely surrounded by mud. It took me about 20 minutes to get there. I had to use my winch multiple times to pull my vehicle across. The rush I felt when I completed it was simply awesome, and that is game design doing its job. When you think Roadcraft, it is going to handle things slightly differently. You're going to unlock better vehicles as you progress through the game's infrastructure goals, which is going to fit that construction sim fantasy that they want to go for. But when you think about it, that sense of discovery is just not the same when you think about SnowRunner. Over 100 vehicles is another advantage when you think about SnowRunner versus Roadcraft's 40 to 50, which means that drive to explore and unlock the map to find new vehicles is simply massive. So I can tell you, if you're a vehicle collector type, and at 45 years of gaming, I absolutely am, and SnowRunner is going to feed that obsession. So what's a vehicle sim without vehicles, and that's exactly my next section. It's all around the vehicles. And this is probably going to be the most important distinction between these two games. And understanding it, I think, is going to tell you immediately which game is going to be for you. So in Roadcraft, vehicles are specialized tools. You've got machines that cut trees, a machine that lays road base, a machine that's going to also pull cables for your infrastructure. Your job is understanding which tool applies to which problem. And there is going to be a satisfaction in deploying the right piece of equipment at the right moment. And it honestly is going to make you feel like you're part of a construction crew. SnowRunner is going to be a little bit different. It's pretty much everything is in service of one core loop. Explore the map, open it up by finding watchtowers, locate the hidden vehicles and upgrades, haul cargo from point A to point B. The trucks are varied, but their purpose is going to be unified around that loop. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm only talking the core loop because you do have a crane where you can load and unload cargo, maybe flip over vehicles, etc. But my focus here is just on that core loop. And I'm going to be honest, neither approach is wrong. They're just going to be different games with different fantasies. Roadcraft makes you feel like a construction engineer. SnowRunner is going to make you feel like a fireman carving routes through wilderness and mud. Both are 100% valid. Both are fun, but now you should know which one you're kind of signing up for. So let's talk gameplay variety, because to me, this is where the biggest distinction is going to be seen between the two games. I do want to be honest here because I know some of you watching are probably Roadcraft players, scratching your head and wondering if you should add SnowRunner. So when you think about Roadcraft, it does have gameplay variety, pulling cables, cutting trees, building roads, laying pipes, creating infrastructures that changes the map permanently. These are all different mechanical experiences that you're going to experience within the game. Some sessions I could be running a log cutter through a dense forest. Other sessions I might be plotting out a road network or even pulling underground cable for electricity. When I think about SnowRunner's loop, you're going to explore, you're going to discover, your haul. It is excellent at what it does. But after 3 to 5 hours, I typically could see the shape of the entire experience pretty clearly. The depth in this game is really around mastering the terrain and upgrading your fleet. I just don't think the scope is really going to be the same when you think about Roadcraft. So if you get bored doing one thing repeatedly, even if that one thing is extremely well executed, that is knowledge you need to think about if you're planning to move towards SnowRunner. So I do want to offer this up to all my SnowRunner veterans because, again, I don't have a lot of hours in the game, so feel free to add anything else that you think is pertinent down in the comments. So with all of that in mind, let's talk final verdict and let's determine whether you should play one game or the other, and maybe even both. So here's where I'm going to land after my first real session in SnowRunner as a dedicated Roadcraft player. SnowRunner is going to be a well-crafted, polished vehicle sim with a satisfying exploration and upgrade loop, the contract clarity, the driver progression, the enormous vehicle roster, and the manual gear default. These are all real strengths, and I respect every single one of them when it comes to SnowRunner. I think Roadcraft absolutely is going to win on graphics. It's going to win on gameplay variety, and I personally find the construction sim fantasy more engaging long term. But let's be real, SnowRunner has been doing this way longer. It has more content. So here's my recommendation. If you love Roadcraft and you want more vehicle sim in your life, SnowRunner is absolutely worth picking up on sale. They're going to complement each other rather than compete. Play Roadcraft when you want to build something. Play SnowRunner when you want to explore something. I'm absolutely going to be putting more hours into SnowRunner over the next coming weeks. But as a first impression from someone who came in with real context, not going to lie, I was pretty impressed with the game. So honestly, if you're a SnowRunner player, check Roadcraft out. At the same time, if you're a Roadcraft player, check out SnowRunner, because I can tell you, I am going to be doing both. I want to thank everybody for watching the video. Do me a favor, hit subscribe. I do post twice a week. I do a Steam weekly sale video, and I also do kind of a rotatable video as I like to mix it up. And remember, there's no sponsors, no affiliate links. It's just 45 years of pure gaming experience. Drop a comment below. Are you a SnowRunner veteran? Are you a Roadcraft player? Maybe you can even provide some tips that I know nothing about, because again, when it comes to SnowRunner, I only got about 3 to 5 hours into the game, but I generally want to know, what is the community think about these two games? And remember, hit F5, reset, and reload. I'm F5 Dad, and I will see you on the next video.